Finding Common Battlegrounds is an attempt by two brothers, one conservative, the other progressive, to have civil conversations about politics with a little help from their friends.
Welcome to another episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. Today, we're going to be talking about capitalism and is capitalism bad? But first, let's talk about our debaters. We have the usual debaters. It's Ryan and Josh Cragen. They are brothers and they are polar opposites. Ryan, even though he's wearing a red shirt, is representing the liberal side, and Josh, wearing a blue shirt, is representing the conservative side. So on our ongoing getting to know our debaters a little bit more, I thought each of you could maybe talk about your children a little bit and, how many you have and how you've raised them, things like that. And give us a little brief overview. Ryan, you want to go first?
Sure. Mine is fairly short. So I have one child. He identifies as a boy. Notice my language here. That's me being the progressive. I had to do that. That was like a little poke.
I know you did. Good poke. Good poke.
He's 11, be 12 soon. Unfortunately, he's not quite ready to get the vaccine yet. So as soon as he turns 12. But he, let's see. Yeah, goes to school, great student, straight A's. We emphasize that a lot. He likes to read, play video games, and following his parents' footsteps, he's a dancer. So he does ballet and performs regularly here at the kind of major dance location here in Tampa. So I think that covers it. Yeah.
Do you have a dog?
No pets. We are anti-pets.
Some people, yeah, because if you did, I know some liberals like to introduce their pets as children, right? Do you have two?
Yeah. Nope, no
it's
pets.
A lab and a border collie.
I call Torin my pet when people ask. So no pets.
All right, cool, Josh.
Wow. So I had to make up for the deficit Ryan left by only having one child. Because the liberals are all freaking out that we're going to overpopulate the planet, and they've been doing that for 60 years, and that's not really a problem. The real problem is going to be that we don't have enough people soon, and all of the deferment that our governments have done are going to come calling, and there's not going to be nobody around to pay all this crap. But anyway, I have 4 children to make up for Ryan's lack of procreation. My oldest is also 11. They're within like 5 months of each other.
Yeah.
The travesty here is I was the good brother and I stayed in our home state to be with family, and this jerk and the other 2 siblings that have kids are their age all went to the East Coast. So our kids get along great, but they don't see each other. So my oldest is Addison. She's 11. She's huge into softball. That's given her an identity. It's been really good for her. So she's a good little athlete. My next is a 9-year-old. He's Gunner. No, I did not choose that name just to spite Ryan.
That's his poke. I named my kid after guns.
But I didn't just to spite you. It's just Gunner Cragun. What's manlier than 2 guns in your name? That's a manly name. And he loves jiu-jitsu, actually. So COVID has really sucked for him because jiu-jitsu you can't do jiu-jitsu. And then my next is McCoy. He is 5. He's absolutely insane. Enough to said about him. And my youngest is Reese. She's going to turn 3 this Saturday, and she's a psychotic little redhead. That's nice. That's my brood. And I do have pets. I have fish. Dogs crap everywhere, and I do not know how people deal with that.
And McCoy is named after Star Trek, yes.
No, he's not.
Oh, come on.
I mean, he should be. That's the best McCoy out there, but.
All right.
Well, all right. Good to get to know your children a little bit more. And let's go ahead and jump into this. So I'll just give a quick introduction about capitalism. So the modern form of capitalism developed during the early Renaissance. Prior to that was feudalism. Capitalism is the economic system based on the private ownership and of the means of production of their operation for profit. So central characteristics of capitalism include capital accumulation, competitive markets, a price system, private property, and the recognition of property rights, voluntary exchange, and wage labor. So critics of capitalism argued that while initially a great thing for society, is transformed into a brutal system of oppression by concentrating power in the hands of a minority capitalist class that exists through the exploitation of the majority working class and their labor, prioritizes profits over social good, natural resources, and the environment, is an engine of inequality, corruption, and economic instabilities. Supporters argue that it provides better products and innovation through competition, promotes pluralism and decentralization of power, disperses wealth to people who are able to invest in useful enterprises based on market demands. So we are going to get through and start discussing this. Our usual format is both the debaters have submitted some questions, and we're going to see if we can find some common ground that we can agree on, and which is different than most debates where instead of finding things we disagree, we're going to see how much we can agree upon. So we'll go ahead and get started. Josh, we'll start with your question and see where we can get. Ryan, can you agree that capitalism is far and away the best economic system ever conceived of by man? Ryan or Josh, do you want to tailor that or add anything to that?
The first obvious question is, what can you throw out there that has achieved the same results? Socialism?
Is that an open question for me?
Briefly. I mean,
okay.
Do you have a brief answer to that? Because
I do, and this is actually like my main point. So if you will indulge me with a short quote, and then I will use this, right? Because this is actually how I was going to start, which is great. While I have mixed feelings about Winston Churchill, I do like one of his quotes that I think about regularly. He once said, and here's the quote, "Many forms of government have been tried and will be tried in this world of sin and woe. No one pretends that democracy is perfect or all wise. Indeed, it has been said, actually by him, that democracy is the worst form of government except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time." And I think that end quote, right? That's a great quote. I think he's right about democracy. What I would add and what I would say is, I think the exact same thing about capitalism. So here's my version. Capitalism is the worst economic system except for all those other forms that have been tried from time to time.
I swear I thought he did say capitalism is the worst form of economic system.
No, it's the democracy one that he said, right? I'm the one saying like, no, and other people may have said that. I don't know. I couldn't find any quotes to that effect, but that would be my position, Josh, is there isn't a better one, but that doesn't mean that capitalism is good. So I think
by definition it does, though. Agree. So
no,
we do agree.
Means it's the best of the worst systems that we have.
It's horrible,
but there's not a better one.
Better than
so you can't phrase it like that. It's the best
absolutely
one.
I can. It's the best of the bad ones because there isn't a better one, but it doesn't mean it's good.
It's the best one. Definitely speaking, it's the best one. You're admitting that.
That doesn't mean it's good.
You have to be admitting that. It has flaws. Okay, so what you said, that's actually going to. My third point is going to go that way.
Okay.
I want to talk about some of the flaws because it obviously has flaws, but you're hiding behind this mealy mouth speak saying, well, it's still terrible. Definitionally speaking, it's the best one we've ever had. That's why I phrased the question that way. It's the best system conceived of by mankind. It is because what else do you have? I think
Ryan's agreeing, but I'm not sure.
I'm agreeing, but so reluctantly because it's such a terrible system. All right, and we're going to talk about that.
But so we're going to talk about it.
Let's move on to Ryan's question then. So
that was way too easy. I have a page here of stuff I was going to use to convince you, and you just agreed. Like
you'll see why. You'll see why. There's a lot of nuance to this.
Josh, can we agree we want some aspects of our society to be socialist, meaning run by and funded by the government and taxes, including roads, schools, police, and the military? Ryan, you want to
So
garnish that at all?
Yeah. My first point is that most people don't really know what capitalism is or how it works. Tom actually gave a really good introduction. I was surprised that he was quoting Karl Marx with that, but delighted to have Karl Marx as part of our podcast this week.
Leave
the basic
him out
premise,
of here, or I will punch you in the face. Marx
I failed
is
to
worthless.
mention that my son is named after Karl Marx, just as an FYI. The basic premise is that someone takes capital and uses it to start a business that then employs people. The key component here is that the capitalist then pays the employees less money than they generate, making profit for the capitalist. Or, to quote our father, Josh and I's father, quote, "The best way to make money is to make money when you're not working," end quote. Do you remember him saying that, Josh? So he loved to say this, right? Yeah. So his logic is that if you have employees working while you're not working and you're paying them less money than they're generating in value, then you're making money while you're not working. So it's a great way to make profit. That, in a nutshell, is capitalism. It can be very effective for certain sectors of an economy, like consumer goods, cars, TVs, cell phones, etc., as it results in competition, and I'm totally conceding this, that breeds improvements and sometimes lower prices. Nudge, nudge, iPhones. But capitalism doesn't work for all aspects of our economy. I'll just use one example. Imagine what a capitalist police force would look like. Someone is home alone when they hear a window shatter. They call 911 and the operator says, "We'll get someone over there as soon as you give us your credit card number and the payment clears," right? That is not a system we want. We don't want a capitalist military.
That's not how you would set it up as a capitalist
Can I finish my point? Let me finish my point.
No, because that's a dumb example.
It's absolutely, it's actually happened, Josh. It's happened with firefighters in Tennessee.
Okay.
They privatized it.
And I'm sure it failed.
It did.
You're not the business owner. You're telling me how to set up a business. That's a terrible business model. That's not how you would set it up. You would set up competing police forces, and whoever could give the best bid and provide the most coverage, they would get the contract. That's how the government does dole this stuff out.
To the government. Right.
Yeah.
So,
but it would be privately run and owned, and it would be more efficient than the government doing it. But
I can guarantee it would not. We don't want a capitalist military. We don't want a capitalist police force, firefighters, public education system, post office, library, roads, FBI,
public
CIA,
education
NSA. None of those.
In Asia, they have private teachers and they do fantastic, and they have great results. We have private schools, so. Not that one. Sorry. Keep going.
Josh, are there anything that you do agree should be socialist? Can you agree with that?
So let me just clarify, right? By socialist, all I mean is that it's run by and funded through the government. I know what you mean. Right. And so that would include.
We are a society. We're not a tribalist society. We've evolved past that. We're a society that has strong social institutions, and that's a good thing. The strong social institutions are necessary, and I'll talk about that a little later. So I agree, the military can't be privatized. That would be really scary. That would lead to infrastructure. So the government is basically the founding fathers laid out the 5 things that the federal government is supposed to do: infrastructure, military, anti-monopoly. There's a word for it. There's 2 more. Those are basically the only 5 things that should fall under that socialist umbrella. So your original statement, I do agree with it. There should be some things that should be social institutions, and we should have strong social institutions.
Say the word socialist.
Well, that has a different connotation, and I understand the connotation.
It's literally the same thing. It's run by the government. That's what it is.
Okay, but they're social institutions. So I'm not even going to say the word because it does have a different. No, social institutions. Those are important. Socialism, garbage.
That's literally what it is.
Josh,
we largely agree.
I'm going to move on to your next question. And this was a little weird, so we'll see where this goes. All right, Ryan. No, seriously. Can you agree that capitalism is far and away the best economic system ever conceived of by man?
We already discussed this. It's the best worst system. Sure, Josh. Yes, it's the best one. Even though it's a
didn't let me
system.
go on the rant that I was going to go on. I had pages here of proofs of why it's the best system, and I was going to go until Tom stopped me. And then I was going to start again with the next one because there's so much evidence. Okay. So I'll just cherry pick for the sake of time. I'll cherry pick a few. What I was going to talk about in the first one. Let's do some apples and apples comparisons. Would you rather live in East Berlin or West Berlin?
Now?
No.
Or then?
Back when it was when Berlin Wall
those
was
two existed. Yeah.
Certainly West Berlin.
Okay. Would you rather live in North Korea or South Korea? These are
Now?
apples to apples comparisons.
Now?
South
Korea.
Of course now. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even comparable, right? The South
Well,
Korean
unless I was Kim Jong-un.
South Korea.
I mean, if I was Kim Jong-un,
You'd want to be that tool?
No,
that guy is
absolutely
such
not.
a tool.
Absolutely, but he has a pretty.
I mean, he does have
life, just saying.
He has harems and he can just kill people at a whim. You make a point, but you're not. So which one would you rather live in?
If I'm not Kim
Exactly.
Jong-un, I want South Korea. I gotcha.
Okay, it's a beacon of prosperity and innovation. And in North Korea, in their socialist regime, in their authoritarian regime, they can't even keep the lights on, right?
They can't feed their people. Yeah, there are all sorts of problems.
There's all sorts of problems. So that's an apples to apples comparison. They started at the same place, and one is
would North
cesspool.
Korea be called socialist? Because I think
no, probably not. It's not a.
It's
true
more of a
version
totalitarian
of
regime.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll even grant that. There's socialistic aspects. The government runs everything, but it's a dictatorship. So it falls under its own thing.
All right,
but South Korea that's a capitalist democracy, and it's beautiful, and they've flourished, and it's amazing. Here's another apples comparison.
You do realize that in South Korea, the government helps fund things like Hyundai.
Sure, but we're talking about the economic system,
which makes it more socialistic than the U.S.
We're talking about the economic system, okay?
Which is going to get to my second point. So we'll get to my second.
Not the government system, because those are separate things and they shouldn't be conflated.
All right, okay? 60 seconds. 60 seconds, Josh.
The companies in South Korea are pretty high on the economic freedom index, okay, if you want to put it that way. Another one would be Venezuela. 30 years ago, they were richer than we are per capita, and they adopted socialism. Now they're a failed state. The apples to apples comparison would be Chile. They got rid of their fascist dictator, blanking on his name, and embraced capitalism. And what are they? They're booming, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this, I mean, I'm trying to get these out as fast as I can.
I know it's a bit oversimplistic on Chile and Venezuela.
I know, but it's a direct comparison. And the Venezuelans right now are eating the zoo animals. It's a failed state because they embrace socialism.
But we also put in massive sanctions against them and have tried to do everything within our power as a country to destroy Venezuela, and we have not done that with Chile. So I don't think you can solely attribute Venezuela's state to that. I'm totally agreeing with you that what they did.
Okay, let's not get bogged down there.
I'm totally going to agree with that. But we also put in massive sanctions, and that has not helped.
Okay, but let's not get bogged down there because I have a list of places of where socialism has failed miserably.
So,
and I was going to get.
I'm going to cut you off because on call time there. So
I didn't even get to my graph, Tom. Come on, let me show my graph.
Show me your graph.
Okay, show the graph.
Let me show the graph. Graph would be better.
Show me Venezuela's graph. It is on that screen. Okay, so this graph, are you seeing it?
Yeah, this is trillions of inflation-adjusted international dollars.
Okay, so this goes from year 1 to year 2000.
Yeah.
Okay, and for those that are just listening, it's a hockey stick. The graph. It stays basically a solid line. It barely goes up until 1800s. And
inflection point.
Well, that's when it really.
And then it boomed.
Yeah, no, 1870.
Yeah. And
that's when it booms. What happened in the 19th century? Capitalism. Thank you, capitalism.
No. Capitalism.
So I know Ryan will have
happened way earlier.
Ryan will have some problems with this.
Yeah.
Well, so it started to take off. I mean, there were places where it kind of popped up a little bit, but where did it really take hold? 1776, really. And then the United States started to flourish. And as more people around the world have embraced capitalism, look at this chart of wealth. And even if this chart is not 100% accurate, maybe it's 25% off. Would that change this? No,
this
the
is
amount
the
of wealth
world?
created by capitalism. This is the entire world in the last 2,000 years. The amount of wealth created in the entire world in 2,000 years. It skyrockets when capitalism hits the stage. Okay. And it's incontrovertible. Even if Ryan, who teaches, what's the class you teach?
Sociology.
No,
social inequality.
The
social theory.
no,
Which one?
the stats.
Statistics. Oh, stats. Sure.
So Ryan teaches stats. Even if this chart was 25% off, it would still irrefutably prove that capitalism has created an insane amount of wealth. Even if it's 90% off, it still proves that capitalism has it's created an obscene amount of wealth, where no system we had before that created wealth. Okay. And people complain about capitalism, but look at all the great things it has done.
So Josh, here's the crazy thing.
Let me stop sharing this.
You sound exactly like Karl Marx.
Oh, gag. You want to get punched in the face?
No, literally, this is because I've read Marx, right? Marx literally said that capitalism unleashed the powers of production. He fully recognized this, right? Everybody just thinks that Karl Marx is all about communism. But in reality, he's the one who helped us understand what capitalism actually is and why it works. And he fully agrees with everything that you just said. When you put profit motive in play in front of individuals, they will create amazing things. He fully recognized that. That's not to say what he suggested should happen in the future, but he fully recognized the productive forces of capitalism.
That's a great segue to your question, Ryan. I think let's go to that. So Ryan's question number 2, Josh, can we agree that we don't want completely unregulated capitalism, and we don't want Soviet Union like socialism, but something in between?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let me give a little bit of background here.
I always agree with your statement, and then you give background.
No, I'm only going to give.
Sucked.
No.
Just let me agree. I just want to agree with you.
I'm only going to poke in the last one. My second point is that capitalism, socialism are a continuum, not an either or. And this is the part that really gets me in the U.S. Whenever I teach my students, they don't understand this. I don't think anyone wants unregulated capitalism. When capitalism first came on the scene,
you don't want that because that's anarchy.
Following mercantilism, which came after feudalism and then mercantilism, and there wasn't a market, kind of immediate transition, it was gradual. It was an awful time to be a worker, aka the proletariat, to use Marxist terms. Workers often were required to work 7 days a week, 12 to 16-hour days. There were no workplace safety regulations, leading people to be mangled by machines and die all the time. No regulated work week of 40 hours, no vacation days, no sick days, and there was nothing to stop corporations from being monopolies. Unregulated capitalism is a bleak system where the capitalists wield near absolute power and workers are horribly mistreated. Going all the way to the other extreme, assuming socialism is the other extreme, that is also not ideal. In such a situation, people get paid the same regardless of what they do or how well they do it, which also seems highly problematic to me. Thus, can we agree that we don't want either of those extremes? We want somewhere in the middle. And then we can debate where we fall in the middle, right? Where exactly we want to be on that spectrum. But can we recognize that it is a spectrum and we don't want to be on the extremes?
Absolutely. I agree with every word you just said. And
Awesome.
like I'll reiterate, that's one of the jobs of the federal government is antitrust, to regulate the capitalism. Because when they don't do their job and corporations are suddenly deemed too large to fail, that's when we have 2008 and the bust, because one of the problems people have with capitalism is it's a boom and bust system, versus socialism where it's just bust and bust. But a lot of the times that happens because we're not regulating it properly. We can't have monopolies controlling people. We can't have individuals, and this will be part of my third point, that have too much power. So I agree with every word you just said. That we want to fall on the spectrum. We live in a society of strong social institutions, and they have their place. They must have their place. Not a socialist society.
He said it. I got him to say socialist. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it all day long.
All right, we've got agreement then.
Disgusting system. Yeah, we agree on that one.
Excellent. All right, let's Josh's third question here. Let's see. Okay. Can we agree that capitalism obviously suffers from some of the same basic flaws of other systems, but it does a better job of ameliorating the ramifications of said flaws than other systems? Did I say that right? Ameliorating.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
And this is sort of, I think, what we've already kind of hammered out in the first couple. That
Yeah.
Well,
So-
way of putting it. But
This
Josh,
is where I
did you
want to
wanna add
spend the
anything to
majority
that?
of my time talking about this, because this
Okay.
is where I find it actually interesting, and this is what Ryan was just talking about, is where you know, that spectrum, where we
Yeah.
want to be on the spectrum. So one of the big problems in capitalism is inequality. Okay, that is a problem. The place of the left in America is to advocate for the dispossessed. That's the main thing that the left should be doing, and it's a proper thing to be doing. I don't think they're doing it correctly in this case, because I think the left sees the inequality and it's just an envy thing that kicks in, and they don't understand why the inequality is such a problem, because it is a problem. And one of the other problems, so because of time, I just want to talk about these two problems. The inequality, we still have poor people in America. That is a problem. And the other thing I want to talk about is the people at the top that have all the money. Okay. You could call it the Pareto distribution, the 80-20 rule. 20% of the people have 80% of the wealth in America, and it's trending to go even farther in
more
that
extreme.
direction.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, even more extreme. That's a problem. And why is that a problem, Ryan? Because liberals are crying about this all the time. Inequality, redistribute the wealth. I agree it's a problem, but I don't think most liberals understand why it's a problem. Why do you see it as a problem, Ryan? And let's discuss this for a minute, because I find this fascinating.
Sure. In my mind, the primary reason why that level of inequality is problematic is because you're not giving everybody the same starting position. I don't think everybody should end up in the same place. But this is my primary beef, right? That everybody should have the same opportunity when they're 5 years old, when they're 8 years old, right? So schools should be good. Everybody should have all of those opportunities at the beginning. Where you end up is based on how hard you work, your natural gifts, all of those things. So I'm okay with some inequality, because I think you should be rewarded. It's a motivation. Until we have a better system than what we have right now, that's the way that it should work. But because you have, the 1% who own 50% of the wealth and value in the US, you don't have that level of inequality. So to me, that's like the biggest issue. And that doesn't mean, again, that everybody needs to end up in the same place. That's a different form of inequality. That's a radical equality that I don't actually agree with.
It doesn't work at all.
I think everybody should have roughly the same opportunities to start with. Where they end up, so be it. So that, to me, because then you're disadvantaging kids. You're basically saying, oh, your dad is poor. Sorry, sucks to be you. You're going to be poor the rest of your life, right? And we don't know what kind of talents and opportunities are being wasted, because that really bright kid, at 7 years old, went to a really crappy school, didn't get a good education, was malnourished, right, for most of their adolescence.
What about the
and
malnourished?
Then at 16 drops out of high school because his dad is in prison and his mom is working a crappy job, and to support his siblings has to get a job at 16, even though they could be, a Nobel Prize winner.
I largely agree with your take on that. I don't know about the malnourished thing, because here's back to the phrasing of my question. Here's where capitalism ameliorates that problem of poor people. Okay, because I agree, we should be working towards this system where people are on a level playing field to start out with, but they still get rewarded for hard work. I agree. It's again, it's kind of a pipe dream, because there's so many variables you have to take into account: familial status, financial status, IQ. I mean, a lot of these things are really hard to account for. We should be moving towards that if at all possible, but it's very, very difficult. And here's where capitalism ameliorates that versus other systems. The poor people in America, if you contrast our poor people living below the poverty line against the middle class in Ethiopia, what's the standard of living? our poor people are living like kings. Okay. They still have cell phones. They still have computers. They have cars. They have air conditioning, and they have enough food that they can get fat. Okay. Obesity is becoming a bigger problem than hunger in our country.
Yes. That doesn't mean there aren't kids going to bed hungry every night.
There are some. There
are
some
millions.
But
there are millions.
But there are safety. Well, that's usually because of the parents, because there's safety nets where most of these kids can get fed. Most of these kids can get at least 2 meals at school. My kids can get 2 meals at school. Okay?
Not during the summer.
No, not during the summer. Well, actually, some school systems have actually started doing that.
But that's not a federal level program.
So I agree.
Right?
It's still a problem. It's still a problem. But if I have another chart that I could show you, but I don't think Tom will let me.
Well, I want to get back to this question, like, because I mean, we're talking about these problems. I mean, China has these problems as well, right? So I mean, I guess the question is, I mean, you know, China has starving people, China has inequality, China has corruption. So to answer Josh's question, is capitalism doing it better than any other system? Does it try to address these better? So there are other systems that do it better.
Well, my response would be systems further towards socialism, and y'all are going to hate where I'm going to go, right? But all I have to say is Norway.
I knew you were going to say that.
Right? You knew I was going there.
Yeah.
They're further on the spectrum. They're still capitalist. Don't get me wrong. They are not.
Okay, as long as you acknowledge that,
China, right? They're not communist.
And there's one
China.
other thing you need to acknowledge this.
But they are further to the left, if we will, towards socialism than the US is. Sure. They have more well-developed social safety nets. People pay more in taxes. All of that is true. And then you don't have kids going to bed starving in these countries, right? You generally have a better, well-developed social safety net, and you don't have these problems. And their schools are better than ours. Their kids test better than us.
There are different problems.
Sure, there are other problems, but they have done a lot to address these very specific issues. And so I think that is really kind of the spectrum. Yeah.
Well, I mean, but you have to look at they rank way higher than the US on the economic freedom index. Okay. Mm-hmm. They have way less regulations on their corporations, on who can be hired, who can be fired. The US ranks really low on that, on corporate tax rates and all that stuff.
Corporate tax rates, yes, but not a lot of the other stuff. I mean, have you seen what it's like to like build a house in these countries? Oh okay,
go look at the World Economic Freedom Index. These Canada and the Norwegian countries all rank right at the top. US is
but I don't know that you're fully understanding what that
way more regulations.
It's not regulations. No, you're misinterpreting what the Economic Freedom Index is.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not. But let's keep going there. They have a homogenous society.
That is true in some of them, and it's changing. And I will fully admit, some of these countries are very racist. Some of these countries are very racist.
And they have their own problems. The cost of living in Norway,
higher.
It's like $22 to buy a Big Mac. Okay, it's really expensive over there to live. So they have their own.
It's not $22 to buy a Big Mac.
I want to cut into this. I want to cut into this a little bit because Ryan's admitting that full-blown socialism is probably not the answer.
Right.
But Ryan,
it's definitely not the answer.
But Ryan, it sounds like you're attributing that a good balance is this balance that you're attributing to Norway's success.
Yes.
And Josh, you're saying, well, there might be some other factors why Norway succeeds.
Well, it's not. I'm saying it's not an apples to apples.
You're not saying it's not just socialism, is what you're saying.
Ryan's right. They've struck their own balance, and it's working for them.
You realize I'm just going to take that quote out of context and just repeat it over and over and over again. Ryan is right.
Just sucker. So they've struck a balance, and it's working for them. But they have different issues. They're not policing the world like the U.S. It's not an apples to apples comparison. We have different issues that we're dealing with here. We have way more money in the military, which is a different debate. So I largely agree with what Ryan's saying. There are other systems. If you want to look at a system that's doing it way better than us, let's look at Switzerland. Okay, they're doing a lot of things better than us. We have some serious issues here, but I still take issue with anybody that's decrying capitalism for the incredible force for solving problems that it is, because that's what capitalism is. It's the best system for solving problems. It's not a good system for identifying problems. That's what it comes down to. Okay. Capitalism does not properly identify problems. In the US, we used to all carry big binders full of CDs in our cars, right?
Yeah.
And then Apple came out with the iPod and oh, this is cool. I didn't even know that was a problem. And so now we spend billions of dollars on iPhones, and that's great. And it's capitalism, but they didn't really identify a good problem. They could have fixed cancer or AIDS or something. So capitalism doesn't do a good job at identifying problems, but it is the best driving force the world has ever seen for fixing problems. And so people that whine about capitalism do not understand what it really does.
All right. We didn't get, Ryan did not agree with your last statement, but we're going to move on.
But you didn't let me finish my last statement.
That very last statement.
Let me finish the argument there. Okay. So I talked about the one problem of poor people, right? What, yeah. Tom?
Okay.
Tom's giving me the stink eye.
I want to see it. I want to. What is it? What is the argument? Okay.
So there are issues with capitalism. Okay. And I just was the two. We still have poor people, and you have people at the top that have way too much money. Okay. Yeah. And the problem with people at the top with too much money, most liberals just freak out because of envy. Okay. I had a buddy just posted the other day. He's a good guy. He's one of the few liberals that hasn't unfriended me on Facebook. So he's a great guy. He's open-minded, but he freaked out because Bezos just spent $500 million on a yacht. Okay. And he and all of his liberal friends started virtual signaling. Well, I would not do that if I had that much money. I would cure cancer, or I would spend it better. So they all went off on this virtual signaling, disgusting rant saying that they would do better if they had Bezos money, which is absurd. What would you guys do if you had Bezos money? I'd probably buy every team in the NFL and make them wear dresses just because I could. Okay. People are going to do weird things if they have that kind of money.
Or start a super league in Europe.
Buy a yacht.
Buy a $500 million yacht. Why not? Because he's donated billions to charity. And I don't like the guy, but they started bashing.
Gosh, come on.
Get to your point. What's your point? I'm not virtue signaling. Come on, get to your point.
You're not. Why it's actually problematic for these people at the top to have all the money. Okay. Bill Gates just injected himself into the narrative. He's trying to tell people how to live their lives, and he has way more influence and power because of his money. So the money's not actually the problem. It's because he can use the money to buy influence and power. His vote now counts more than mine because he has way more influence. That's why this crazy inequality is actually a problem. It's not the envy. And I wish I had more time to go into that. Sorry.
Interesting.
Do you agree with that, Ryan? Why that is? Why the inequality gap? The equality gap is problematic.
That's an interesting point. That actually gets to something I hate to put on my egghead hat, but Max Weber a long time ago said that three things tend to go hand in hand: power, property, and prestige. So if you have property, which is what you're talking about, you're Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates of the world. If you have property, then you can use that to get power and prestige, because just by the fact that you have property. I use two examples to illustrate this in my classes, right? So I usually will ask my students, all right, let's say that you had something that was really pressing that you needed to talk to the President of the United States about. Could any of you get the President of the United States on the phone? Right. And of course, their answer is no, like that's never going to happen. Could Bill Gates get the President of the United States on the phone within 15 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's sheerly due to his property that gives him power and prestige.
And this is why capitalism is a better system, is because of the division of power. In a socialist society, or in North Korea, in a totalitarian regime, the people with all the money also have the right to violence, because in our society where we have strong social structures, which we talked about earlier, we have abdicated the right to violence. Okay. If somebody offends us or steals our stuff or beats us, we do not have the right to be violent to them. Okay. We have abdicated that right to the state. So in any of those other systems, the powerful people with the money and the wealth, they also have the right to violence. They're the ones that can send people to your house with guns and make you comply. In our system, in the capitalist system, yes, Bill Gates has way too much money, way too much influence, and way too much power, but he does not have the right to violence, which exists in these other states. That's why capitalism is better. It creates a division of power there. That's my main point. Will you agree with that?
Yeah, though, I mean, we could go down a really different path and talk about what Karl Marx actually envisioned, which communism is not really, like how it developed in the Soviet Union and China and North Korea is not at all what he envisioned. We don't have to go down that path. It's a huge tangent. I'd strongly encourage people to read more of Karl Marx. But we still have my third point.
And I would not.
Yes.
Karl Marx is great. He's hard to read. He's writing in German. It's tough.
Let's get to it then.
And I have a whole bunch of questions. So you actually don't have to ask all those questions, Tom.
You just want to rapid fire those then?
Yeah,
Ryan?
I'll rapid fire them then at the end.
Okay, Ryan's just going to present these then.
Yeah. So where I think conservatives and progressives really disagree is on how regulated we want our capitalism to be and how much we want to fund social programs or these social institutions that Josh is talking about. Before I get to my points of agreement, I have to throw in one of my political jabs. So I am going to do this, Josh. Just bear with me, which is a quote I just recently saw right before we decided on this topic, but I really liked it a lot. So I'm going to give it. Here's the quote from Mohammed Safa, who's the executive director of Patriotic Vision, a non-governmental organization in Lebanon. Quote, "Why, when Jesus talks about feeding the poor, it's Christianity, but when a politician talks about feeding the poor, it's socialism?" End quote.
Because
I'll tell you right now. Because, come on, that's a great quote.
No, that's
a really good quote.
No, it's not. Because you're forcing other people to feed the poor. That's the problem. That's my problem with the liberal take on it.
How much money did Jesus have?
Virtual signaling. Oh God!
Did he use any of his own money to feed the poor?
People donated money to him, and then he probably gave it back.
No, they were not his fish and loaves.
Oh, God, what a dumb argument! It is such a dumb argument. Are we talking about Jesus or liberals here?
Moving on.
Because that's
moving on.
That's
I
the
love
difference.
That
You're not acknowledging the difference. That's not a good jab because it's a dumb quote.
All right.
The liberals want other people to. They want to force other people to feed the
Josh,
poor.
I pay taxes.
That
I pay every dollar of my taxes every year, and I do it willingly because I know where the money is going.
Okay, that's
so
a
to say that
argument.
liberals want to just have other people pay.
No,
that's not true at all.
No.
Okay.
What?
Let's
can
get
I
to
get to my?
Tom,
Yeah.
you always cut me off right when I'm going to slice his throat open.
Right before Josh's about to bring down the hammer, I cut him off.
So some rapid fire questions to see where we might agree. Should we have a limited work week? Should the government regulate that? No. So it should be unlimited. They can make people work 24-hour days, 7 days a week, etc.
They can't make anybody work.
Should we have paid holidays and vacation days?
No.
For employees? No. Should we have paid maternity and or paternity leave?
When you're saying should we, you're saying should this be enforced?
Yeah, the government should mandate this, is what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And you're disagreeing to all of these. Should we have unemployment benefits? That one, yes.
We should be far more careful about who we give them out to. There should be a better screening process, but yes, that's part of the safety net.
Should we have food stamps?
It's exact same answer. Because I know people, I literally know people that game both of those systems. So we should be more careful about how we screen people, but yes, it's part of the safety net. I'm okay with that.
Should we have housing subsidies?
That one's harder because it screws up the market, but probably yes.
Should we have health care for the poor?
And that one we should have our own a whole podcast about healthcare.
Healthcare. Okay, we'll have our own
own
podcast.
But yes, probably. But that one's so murky because our system is so screwed up. I'll just
That's
say
really
yes
interesting. So you really don't want any protections for workers. No limited work week, no paid holidays or vacation days, no paid maternity or paternity leave.
If the federal government is doing what it's supposed to be doing with the antitrust stuff, and we still have unions, so
we destroyed the unions. They're so weak now.
Your point, Josh, is that competitive pressure will take care of those things.
If if the federal government's doing its job, that's how capitalism is designed. The capitalism should be allowed to take care of those things.
But that's not how we got any of those benefits to begin with.
Okay, but
what
the
incentive do capitalists have to give those?
Employees. If you don't like the working conditions, you go find a different job.
That's not how it works. There aren't enough
jobs. It is
jobs.
how it works.
That's literally not
there
how it
aren't
works.
enough jobs.
Josh,
I can't leave my house
maximum
without
employment
seeing...
is? No, you understand what maximum employment is? 3% unemployment. Maximum employment is 3% unemployment. So our government understands, right? You'll never hear a politician in the United States ever say, we want every person in the US to have a job. Because if we did that, then the employees would now have power to do exactly what you just said. I'm going to leave and go somewhere else unless you pay me more. If we want the capitalists to have the power, they have to have people to replace their employees. So maximum employment is 3 to 4%. We do not ever say we want everybody to have a job. We want the pressure on employees to be able to replace them. Otherwise, they could ask for whatever they want. That's the way the system works. It's only in Soviet Union, Russia, that they had maximum employment. Everybody had a job. In the US, we've never had that, and we never will, because we have to have a capitalist system.
Okay, well, unemployment includes people who are looking for new work as well. And but I mean, I will agree with you that if we had 10 to 20% unemployment, that can be abused, right? You could be like, you're coming in on Saturday and Sunday, or otherwise you're fired. In the current atmosphere, it's competitive pressure does take care of these things, right? It's like, hey, you're coming in 7 days a week. They'd be like, yeah, adios. Find a new job.
I own a business. Competitive pressures everywhere. If my prices aren't competitive, when I had a whole bunch of employees,
with other companies, but you're competing with other companies.
But when I had employees, if I didn't pay them correctly, and I didn't give them days off, if I didn't have a competitive package, why would they work for me? Tom's exactly right. I understand what you're saying, but in our current environment, it's working well enough that if you mistreat your employees, they can go somewhere else. And there are exceptions to that rule.
Right now, and when we're at maximum employment at 3 to 4% unemployment, because there are never enough jobs by design. But when we hit 10, 15% unemployment, that's not the way it works. People are desperate for jobs and employers exploit them, right? That is the way the system works. It's structured this way. This is literally how capitalism
functions.
When was the last time that happened? 14% unemployment? A year ago. We had 15% unemployment in the US. People were desperate to keep their jobs. They would do
because of COVID?
Yes. And then we go back another,
what are you
12
talking
years?
about?
2007, 2008, we had a massive recession.
I could give you 20 names right now of people that left their jobs because they were getting more money or
in March,
equivalent amount of money.
By June, July, when we started to build out a safety net, but March, everybody was losing their jobs. People were desperate to keep their jobs. They would be furloughed.
Then the safety net kicked in.
Then eventually a safety net kicked in that was specific to this particular situation. There was not a good safety net before this.
Why are we even arguing about this?
I don't know, Tom.
What's your point?
I think this is a good time. Yeah, we'll wrap it up. I think we got
that was pointless.
We did get successfully, I think each of you successfully got varying degrees of agreement from the other side from all of your questions, which was pretty impressive. I think you're getting better at asking these. So let's just hurry and get some concluding comments here and then wrap this up. So Ryan, do you think you could kind of put your argument into a synopsis here?
Real quick. So I'm going to reiterate my point, right? I'll actually give my same quote again, because I think it's such a good quote. Capitalism is the worst economic system except for all the others that we've tried, right? It has lots of problems. It exploits people, leads to massive inequality. And I think right now, given what we know, given what's available, the best solution is just to move a little bit further towards more well-developed social safety nets. If we can move that direction, get us closer, not that we have to be Norway or Sweden or Switzerland or any of these other places, but closer that way, we can address a lot of the problems that exist in the United States today. That would be my argument. And I just wish more people understood that capitalism really is a spectrum. that ranges from unregulated capitalism, which is horrific, to fully regulated socialism, which is also really problematic. We need to be somewhere along that continuum.
Awesome. Thanks. All right, Josh.
I agree with what he said, but just not the way he said it, because it's so whiny. Capitalism is so bad. I mean, it's the best we got, but it's so bad. I hate that. Can we just not have some gratitude for the insane amount of wealth and the decadence that we live in? Guess what? Thank you, capitalism, because that's where it came from. Capitalism has created an insane amount of wealth because you can create wealth, and capitalism does it better than anything else ever. It solves problems better than anything else ever conceived of by man. Where's the gratitude for it? I understand, and I fully advocate what Ryan is saying. There are problems. There are still some huge gaping flaws with capitalism, but can we not just be grateful? I mean, we have air conditioning and cars and the wealth and breadth of human knowledge on our phones, and we're still sitting here going, well, it's not perfect because other people have more money than me. I mean, it's just so
But that's
whiny.
not why I'm concerned about it, Josh. It's not that I've got plenty of money. This is not me being envious. There are people who are
the whole
literally.
quote.
I have
the
a
best
guy.
of the worst
I have a guy
systems.
a block away from
Screw
my
that
house
quote.
living under a bridge.
Yeah, it's not a perfect
He
system.
lives under a bridge, and I
But
give
there are
him money
safety
on
nets.
occasion. Right?
Okay, he
That
probably
is a
has mental
broken
health
system.
problems. No.
I've talked to him.
He probably
I've
has
talked
mental
to him.
health problems. There are avenues for him in the safety net. He could go get housing. He could get on food stamps. Most of those guys need to be in getting mental help, right? He probably needs to be on a medication
But that
because he's
all comes
probably
from.
choosing to live there.
That all
Well,
comes from
thanks
the government.
everybody. We've had a great episode.
I agree.
And
Dang it, Tom! I was just getting him.
getting him.
Well, we largely agree. Just let's
We
have
do.
some freaking gratitude for what we have.
Thank you, capitalism.
Thank you, capitalism. All right.
Thank you. That's all I wanted.
Gotta
Thank you. Now we're in 100% agreement, and that was successful. And that was actually a really fun episode.
All right. If you haven't already, subscribe or like this video, and we'll keep popping out more of these and having these debates, which we enjoy. So thanks so much. See you next time.
Thank you, capitalism.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Finding Common Battlegrounds. The music is by Ben Sound. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and not those of their employers. For more information or more episodes, you can find us at findingcommonbattlegrounds.com.
It is really good.
Little gems. But
Well, he already said his good stuff.
I know. We'll see if he can say it again. Keep going, Tom.
No, but like that's what we probably, because I think we're all taking that for granted, that we know there's benefits of capitalism, but there's this narrative, right, that it's like that it needs to be destroyed, taken down.
It's all about exploitation.
And that's, and it, we didn't really, I don't know. You did mention that, Ryan, but like I think we could have talked more about
Well, yeah, and I think that you're both making really good points here. Often the left just decries capitalism but offers no alternative other than the boogeyman socialism that they usually don't even say. Like, they're not saying we want to be socialists. They're saying they don't like capitalism.
Yeah.
And they don't finish that. And I think it's because a lot of people, again, don't understand what capitalism is, and that it really is more of a continuum. So if all they really need to say is,
they don't know how to finish that.
They don't. I think you're right. They don't.
They haven't thought it through. They don't know how to finish that. They're just ungrateful for what they have, and go, well, we need something better.
Well, it's this.
What?
It will, and it's interesting because like Occupy Wall Street, right? The movement, and they hang out on Wall Street and do this big sit-in, and it was like, what do you want? What do you want? And they're like, we don't have a list of demands. We just don't like you, right? And I think that's sort of that is right. It is. It's like, we want to burn down the system, and we're not sure we're going to create instead, right? It's like, and that's part of the problem. And it's almost like they want an enemy to a target to destroy, but they don't know what to replace it with, right? And so it's like, we don't like you, but you're the best
Yeah.
thing we've ever had.
But I would actually flip that around. So I totally agree with you. I'm absolutely agreeing. But I think socialism is the exact same thing for conservatives, that it's this like hated boogeyman that they absolutely despise. And then as soon as I bring up my argument of like the military is socialist, like, but no, okay, I guess it is, right?
No,
and my students, their minds are blown when I say that's actually what the military is. It's a socialist institution, right? Like that's exactly, and we want that. Like you don't want
Republicans and Democrats distill everything down into these simplistic talking points.
Yep.
So that's what people glom onto instead of actually exploring the nuance of socialism. Yeah, we have social institutions.
Nuance, Josh? Did you say nuance?
Gag. I know you're the nuance king.
I am. You can't use my words.
Gag. Okay, become a capitalist and put a trademark on it. Then I will not use your word.
Yeah, you copyrighted that term.
My nuance.
All right, good. That was great. Thanks, everybody.